Yeah.
Okay.
So
we have a problem with this. Can you turn me down just a little bit?
Oh.
Where your resume is so extensive that I have to read it off of the thing.
Uh-oh.
So
Are you going to do that right now?
Just a little bit.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
And you have to sit here and listen to it. Oh, it's so bad.
Okay, so
it's
today
so bad for Ameenah to sit and listen to her long list.
We're on camera.
Yeah. Okay, so today we have Ameenah Kaplan, actor, director, musician, choreographer, one of the original cast members of STOMP, West Coast drumming coach for the Blueman group, percussionist with multiple artists like Rihanna, Lambert, Drake, Macy Gray. Is that
true?
It's all true, but I wasn't a percussionist. I was their drummer. Except for with Rihanna, I did percussion. With her.
I didn't know that.
But I did like taiko drums and crazy stuff for Rihanna.
And that's just the music. We're just on the music part.
I know. We didn't even hit the directing.
So director. Now, did you do directing with Lion King? Is that right?
I was just a resident director for the Broadway tour. Yeah.
Okay. Disney's Star Cruiser. You're a director there.
I was. That's how I met this guy.
You did a small TV show. You had a recurring role called The Office.
Never heard.
And then some. You dabbled in film with, I think it's called The Avengers.
I don't know.
Yeah, and a lot more. But that's just that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah. Let me start off. I'll ask the first question because everyone wants to know. How are your knees from all the stomping?
Oh.
Better these days. Yeah, but. I'm answering it seriously.
No, yeah, and I have I'm asking seriously.
I probably should have told a joke, but but legit, like they're better now than they were in my 20s. Yeah, because it was hard to stand in one place.
Seriously?
I think lots of stompers would say that. Like after you did the show, if you were just standing up, you'd be like, "Give me a second," and you bend over, stretch, or whatever. But I honestly like. When I started studying Kung Fu, one of the reasons was I had a knee injury in STOMP that I could not figure out what was going on. And I started studying Kung Fu to just center myself, get it together, and the knee injury went away.
No way, you did.
Yeah.
It's crazy to think that you would even do that show with a knee injury. I had a callback for it, and when I was in Central Park trying to work some patterns, right? And I completely regretted it that night because it was so sore. And I was on the train the next day going to the callback, and it felt like cement in my legs. I was like, dude.
You know, I did stomp on a broken toe for all the years that I did the show. I broke my toe when I was 18. It has a titanium screw in it, and it doesn't move. And I broke it in like a dance movement class when I was like 18 years old. This kid, Edward Feldman, fell on my foot. And like we were doing this move and he just like rolled off of my back and landed on my heel and it broke my toe. And just being young and stupid, I was like, whatever. Yeah, and then I stomped on it for years and years. 12 years later, I went to the doctor and he was like, yeah, you have 4 bone fragments. You have no cartilage. We're going to have to fuse it. So it's fused.
A whole dance career with a broken toe.
Yeah.
We'll add that to the list too, by the way.
That's why I wear shoes in Muay Thai, by the way.
That now makes more sense. Because before I was like, they let you on the mat with shoes?
It's if I didn't have shoes, I would not be able to train. Yeah, because my toe doesn't, like you get hit, you get kicked or whatever, you're blocking a kick. My toe doesn't bend and give you that give. So instead, Andrew, my whole foot will bend down like that. Ooh. And your foot is not meant to bend like that, as you can see. And mine, I have felt it go whoop.
That's like essential to generating, the power for your round kick.
Honestly, like now that it's fused, it's better.
It's better.
Yeah. Because now I can stand and releve, whereas before I couldn't. Like, And so thank you for listening.
Yeah.
So with so multifaceted, by the way. So with dancing and acting and being a musician and like all the creative elements that you have going on, what was the first thing? Like what was the first creative act?
I'm so glad you asked that awesome question. Can we cuss, by the way? And
sure.
Typically,
it's the first minute, and I've broken this so many times.
Every time.
I'm not supposed to cuss, and then after the first minute, you can because then YouTube flags it.
It's just that you just touched me deeply with that question, and it made me want to cuss.
We're past the minute.
Way to go,
it's
Mike.
on. Let's go.
I'm not going to cuss, though. I'm going to be a good girl today, and I'm not going to cuss. So it was drums.
Yes.
And yeah, when I was 9, I start beating on stuff. And then now in retrospect, I know that I'm an artist or whatever lofty beep, beep, beep way that just came out. But like, I just started beating on stuff when I was like 9. And when I was around 12 or 13, I made a pair of drumsticks because my parents were like, what are you doing? And, just beating on stuff. And then, like Michael Jackson's Thriller album was major. So I think I was a musician first. That's why I say to this now that I'm a hack in all things except that I'm a drummer. I'm not a very good drummer because I don't do it full time, but compared to professional drummers, but it is my heart, it is my soul, it is my absolute everything. I'm a drummer and pretty much nothing else.
So how did you get from 9 to 12 to Stomp?
Yeah, good question. I was just beating on stuff. I had, in retrospect, I can tell the story. And like, if you had asked me 15 years ago, I may not have been able to tell it so completely, but I had a lot of help along the way, including a 4th grade teacher called Lorraine Holmes, who was like a Black lady that I looked up to as a 4th grader. Thought she was amazing. I wanted to be her. And she would make a deal with my old mischievous beep in class that if I would pay attention in her class, she would let me listen to Michael Jackson's Thriller album to the side. And it was the first record that I listened to as a musician, like listening to the horns, listening to the vocals, listening to the backing vocals, listening to the drums, like that. And then years later, during the pandemic, I called her, I found her on Facebook, and she was like, of course I remember you. So I had a chat with her, and she said that I reminded her of herself and that she was a drummer. And I was like, what? Oh. Yeah. So Miss Holmes, there was a guy at the Model UN who was, I think, a custodian, who was at the Model UN when I was in high school. And he saw me drumming on stuff. And he was like, you're crap, come with me. And he literally took me into his office, which looked like a custodial closet. And he showed me polyrhythms, 5s and 7s. And
we have... Our stars are aligning right now because when I was younger, I was dabbling in drums.
Yeah.
And I think it was the person that really like turned on a light bulb for me. I was in school, and it was a custodian walked up, and when he saw me playing, and he was like, "You know what's cool about drums?" And I was like, "What?" And he was like, "Anything you can sing, you can play." And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, sing something. And I sang it. And he's like, now play it. And then I played it. And I was like, oh my God. Like,
how great is that?
The custodian thing is...
How great is that? It's like the Breakfast Club with the whole movie hinged on the custodian guy who was like watching them all. And he's like, oh yeah, I see you. And I think they do. That's an awesome connection because he totally saw. He was standing on the periphery and he saw. And he taught this little girl something. And then Stomp. Yeah, literally just a few years later, Stomp
happened.
Yeah,
from a custodian. It's kind of a full perfect story.
Yeah,
if you think about it.
I mean, it's true. It's true. Like he really did elevate my drumming in about it. He took about 30 minutes to an hour. I don't remember, but it was like, and he just taught me stuff.
Wow.
Yeah.
I just remember this. So I've retired as a drummer. I'm not a drummer anymore. I'm not. I'm more act than
You
drum.
just said that to the wrong person.
He still drums professionally.
I still do gigs.
For money.
I go to DC. I'll fly around and do drum gigs.
But not a drummer.
I'm not a drummer. No, I mean, I don't got it anymore. And it started with you. I don't know if you remember this. Remember you said this? You said, are you sick? You know how you know you're sick with it? And I was like, how? And you played a pattern. And then I had to play over it. And it kept, I'll be the first one. It kept fucking me up, dude. I could not play the pattern. And I was like, oh no. And I can't solo anymore. I can't solo.
Why do you say that? Have you been gigging too much? Like just doing like the
I've gone
by
more
rote?
acting. I'm just leaning into that. And I don't feel comfortable. I don't speak that language as fluently as I used to.
I feel like I hear that and I'm going to poo-poo all over that. The reason why is because you're a drummer and you have to keep drumming, Andrew. It's what we do. We don't have to do it professionally. We have to play. Like my whole housing situation revolves around, can I play my drums in this space? And you have to keep playing. And I will never not encourage you to play.
Super good point. I mean,
You just have to play. It's the best thing ever. And you don't have to do it for money. I never monetized drumming. Like, it took me I taught a class over the pandemic, musical theater, whatever. And one of the kids just asked me like about drumming and how I made money with it or something. And I realized I'd never monetized drumming. The money just came. Like, STOMP was a thing. Like, a guy saw a flyer that said drummers who like to jump around and dancers who like to beat on things. And he took the thing off the wall and gave it to me. Because I was already that. And then all the gigs, like, if you knew me as a drummer in LA, I was an actor. I went out there to act. I tried to put my drums to the side, literally. And a friend of mine was like, no, you're playing drums. We got a gig coming up. And I was like, all right, bet.
funny.
Yeah, literally.
yeah.
And
I'm thinking about
you
something. My own
must keep playing for that. It saves us. Making money off of it was tertiary to the way it made me feel as a human being. And I would make this joke with singers and stuff in LA. I'd walk up to them and I'd be like, I'm a drummer. I'd like to play with you. And they'd be like, who are you? And I'd be like, I'm the best free drummer you're going to get. And I played with everybody, including Adam, that way. But Adam, it was different. He was playing in our group. He was the kid playing in our group.
Gotcha.
Or singing.
Yeah, I think that's the part of the problem. We talked about this on one of the podcasts. It's like making a living off of one of your crafts could be a blessing and a curse because, well,
Exactly.
you got to show up and do it. And it takes a little bit of the life out of it.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's why I'm retiring.
I feel that. And that's why I'm like, don't retire, just put it in a different category. And sometimes I made money doing it, and I never was like, don't pay me. I was like, give me that money.
Yeah.
$50, $1,000, didn't matter. A contract, I would take it. But I was not seeking to be a professional drummer. I was always choosing dance or choreography or directing or acting over that. Now I realize why. Is because it's sacred, and this business is not.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that you said it's sacred. It is, and it's. I don't want to say it's not. Animalistic is not the right word. It's just human nature, in that, like, I have a daughter. She's 6, but when she was a baby, I gave her a pair of sticks. She played with more velocity than adults that we play with. Like, it's just in as a human, like, you're born and you have the
No
ability
question.
to do those things.
No question.
And then I think we grow out of them, or some people grow out of them, and some people choose to develop it. But like when you don't know anything about the world, you can do that.
You
primal.
said, yeah, primal.
That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I know what you mean by animalistic, but maybe, it's not the best.
Depends on who we're writing indoor shows. Sometimes it can
Primal.
be animalistic, primal.
Yeah, no, it is.
Yeah.
Like, literally on my phone, my picture is with the greatest drummer of all time, Animal. So I believe in that.
And the drummer for Godsmack. I don't know if you're familiar with the rock band Godsmack, but his whole. He based everything that he does in drumming off of Animal. Animal
is my hero and kind of like my twin spirit, my twin flame.
That's amazing. Wild puppet. So the Animal is, and when he's drumming, is like the key, or I don't know the key, but the definition of expressive.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He's raw emotion, which a lot of times is what drumming is.
Yeah. Yeah, get the animal in you. You nice segue, Andrew. You mentioned something about protecting your art. How do you go about protecting some of your crafts, whether it's directing or acting?
Interesting. I don't think I do a very good job of it, honestly.
Neither do I.
Yeah, it's a kind of a free for all out here. As soon as you put it out there, in my opinion, it belongs to not just me, but it belongs to the people. In fact, I feel like a public servant and that I'm doing it for them. And so I don't tend to hold it like that. It belongs to them, and their opinions about it are valid and varied, and sometimes I don't like their opinions
Sure.
and the things that they say, but they're entitled to their opinions. Yeah, so it's not that sacred to me like that, I don't think. Yeah, drumming is sacred.
Sure.
The rest of it, I'm putting it out there for you. It's up to you.
But, go ahead. Yeah.
No, I was going to say, I kind of have an opposite take on, this is just kind of recent when it comes to acting. I've gotten very selfish to where I don't know. I don't think I think inwards versus outwards. I think it's more for me, but I don't know. I'm a little selfish in that and because it helps me protect it. It's more of a preservation.
I hear that. I hear that. It's, sometimes I feel like we're all just like flirting and playing around with words because the chances that we probably mean the same thing or that, philosophically we're more aligned, because words, but
Right.
I am protective of, I'm learning how to be more protective of Ameenah. Sometimes I feel like I give too much and I put myself in positions where people can hurt me because I'm not thinking like that. I'm thinking like, we're all in this together. Like, here we are, and I forget that people have agendas and they're not all nice and that they don't always have your best interest at heart. But I do feel very much like a public servant as an artist. I've always felt that way.
It's a delicate thing, man. It's a delicate thing. I know what you're saying. Yeah, I think that's why I've been a little bit more guarded in that in my craft because there was a time where I used to give too much and I used to get hurt a lot.
Yeah.
In the theater
Yeah.
and stuff,
Me
especially
too.
in film and TV. I'm like, I got to get out of here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that makes me wonder another moment is like, so you grew up a musician and a dancer, sounds like?
Sort of. Like the folks weren't super supportive of that. So my dancer friends call me a mover. But I think they're just being snobs. But because I think dance is anybody that's dancing, frankly. But if I compare myself to my dancer friends and they operate at a very high level, then out of respect for their training, I sometimes don't call myself a dancer. But yes, was I breakdancing at 10 years old? Yeah. Was I trying to get in that ballet class at 10? Yeah.
So then what was the catalyst of like transitioning to wanting to pursue acting?
I think it was natural for me. It was like I was on that whole, you're going to be a track athlete and a lawyer, and you're going to go to an Ivy League school, and it's all going to be great, and you're going to be that daughter. And right around age 12 or 13, all of that started to melt away for me as like real life started to come into my life and tell me that that wasn't the right emotional pathway for me to take. And so I pretty much begged to get into acting classes and dance classes and stuff, and my mom capitulated, and so I was in like I was at the Atlanta Jazz Theater. Like this is where they train the dancers for the ballet company and stuff like that. So I was just taking dance class and stuff, and then let me think about this. So it all kind of happened like really fast. So I was taking dance at Atlanta Jazz, and then I was so through that, you sort of meet theater people because they're like, oh, we got theater kids. And so next thing you know, you're doing some little production or something. And then I got cast in Macbeth. I played a witch. It was my first job. I was 15 years old. I think this is how the story goes. There was a 16-year-old girl working there, and she went to the performing arts high school, and she remembered me or knew me or whatever, and she was like, you should go to the performing arts high school. And that's how I found out about Avondale High School for the performing arts. And the next year, my junior and senior year, I went to the performing arts high school. And once you're in that environment, if you are at a good program, which I happen to be at an amazing high school, to the point, I mean, we're all still friends. Like everyone really supports each other. We got a couple of Emmy nominees. We got movie stars. We got superintendents. We got novelists. We got Stacey Abrams, like that went to that school with, all within about a 4-year span, all of, just a great group of kids who still support each other. And there was no way you were going to come out of that school and not go for it. And a whole bunch of us just went for it. And, there was my bestie at that school. He was like, I'm going to New York. And I was like, New York? And he was like, New York, you don't know? And of course you're like, yes, I know. Like, and you don't know anything. And he was going to NYU. So I was going to NYU. It's like that. Once you're in the community, you're in, and you just start feeding off of each other. And we were so young and so hungry, writing shows. And so I went to the Performing Arts High School. And then, so in retrospect, I've been doing this the whole time. I've never done anything else.
Yeah.
I've never, along the way, it was challenging and all this stuff. But in retrospect, this has been my only job.
That's special.
It is special because how many other artists, if they're taking this interstate, they just want to pull off an exit and get off. It gets hard. Yeah, it gets so hard sometimes.
It's a terrible business. Mm-hmm. In a lot of ways. Y'all gonna open a can of worms with this.
I know.
You get me talking about this. It's amazing what we do. We are entertainers and we get to share this incredible stories with people. There's almost nothing better. It's the fifth thing that humans do after food, shelter, procreation, and you know what I mean? And it's like you
tell
poop
stories.
and then you tell stories. And so it's this super important thing that we're doing. And in my opinion, as soon as we got this thing called Hollywood and everything got localized to that, suddenly it was a lot easier to do what we do. And people just flocked to that. I'm going to call it an algorithm that was Hollywood. And that algorithm worked for people for a long time. The algorithm was in casting. It was in the way we told stories. It was in the way the film stock looked. It was in who were the type of actors. We've seen it, and it's just one thing and it attracted a lot of people to it. But a lot of those people that got attracted to the business never learned the business of the business. And so the artists were really easy to take advantage of in Hollywood. And you're so hungry for that thing that it's so beautiful and shiny on Hollywood Hill. It's just like you're a movie star and they've got blonde hair and they're wearing furs and they're getting out of limousines and they're so beautiful, and I want to do that. I mean, how many times do you meet just a young person who's like, it is my absolute dream. I'm an actor. I must, and and it's like, oh, all of you are actors? Like, oh, now every single one of you? And it's like this balance thing because a whole bunch of people could and maybe should do something else with their career. But everyone flocks to the business and it's a really saturated market. Now, I'm nobody to tell anybody that they can or can't be in the business. That's not what I'm saying at all. I can't distinguish someone's dream from somebody else's dream. I'm just saying it's a lot of people's dream and it's a lot of uneducated artists out there going for it in a business that, frankly, is run by entrepreneurs. They're business people. That's how Hollywood was created. It was artists funded by entrepreneurs, which was a different business model than we had been under before. And that particular set of entrepreneurs operated with a return on their investment. And they operated and, they also operated with a different kind of a business model, which meant maximum amount of profit with the least amount of effort. And so what did we see? A lot of the same movie with the same actor or type of actor being cast. And so it's this soup of all kinds of different things that make it incredibly hard for someone talented like Andrew over here, for whom this is a life passion, it's who you are. I've seen it all the time. Incredibly talented actors coming to LA from New York and quitting after a year or two, just being like, it's not for me, We
were just talking about that unwillingness to take risk from directors or of the film industry in general.
Yeah, we did a deep dive into the economics of the film and television industry,
Yeah.
and things are terrible right now. But the majority of the films that they make now are either sequels, or
Yeah.
previous
Yeah.
IPs that they've had. It's really, they're just struggling to take risk.
Just, it kind of speaks to what I'm saying is
It-
because they're not
100%.
artists. Because art is dangerous. I hate to laugh about that. It just sounds so silly, it just sounds so lofty. We're like sitting in here, talking about art. But it's like, it's kind of true in a way because they're not going to take a risk because they're business people and it's about that return on your investment. It's about those investors. And so, it took me a long time to realize that Hollywood wasn't just about racism, that it was about homogeneity. And if one type of woman worked as a box office seller, why wouldn't you duplicate that if you are in that kind of business headspace, like where it's an entrepreneur, it's not art. It's a different thing. It's commerce. And I'm not trying to say that art should be devoid of commerce because frankly, I hate the starving artist mentality that artists have been sort of grown up with or taught. I think we should get paid for what we do, and I think we should get paid well. We're artisans and we're highly skilled, and I think we should get paid. But I do think there's, that over-reliance on money or that bottom line has made it difficult for us to be creative.
100%. I'm in this place where I have two little cousins who are really talented. They want to be actresses and dancers and singers. And they watch some of the movies that I've did. They love watching me perform.
Yeah.
And I think about them sometimes on actual advice on how to prepare them if they really want to go into it. Because I think there was a time I had dinner with my mom last night and we were talking about this. And I said, I don't know because this has been so hard up until this point. Now I'm a lifer. I'm in forever. I'm going to act until I can't memorize my lines. That's it for me, But for those little girls, I don't know what to say to them. I don't know if I tell them the truth, like pick something else, and if that doesn't work out, then give it a go, or do I tell them because it's gonna hurt for a long time?
I mean,
it's just such a tough racket.
I tell them the truth. Like you are looking at like a chocolate girl who has had a career. So if you ask me, I'm gonna tell you the truth. And I'm literally like where the rubber meets the road, what your headshot should look like, how to get an agent. Here's how you do it. And usually that separates the wheat from the chaff. And like people, they thought they were like, when they realize what it takes. And so and then I distill it down to these three things, which I haven't said in a long time to anybody, but I used to say, you should get in this business if you are ridiculously good looking. You know if you are. I can't tell you if you are. But Charlize Theron, that African-American girl, Charlize Theron, she's from South Africa, which meant that one day she looked in the mirror and was like, bitch, I'm going to Hollywood. What are we talking about here?
She looked in the mirror. She's like,
why on
Cape
earth?
Town.
Why would I be a florist? No. Why would I be a rugby player? Why would I play soccer? I'm going to Hollywood. So if you've got it like that, come on. We pay people to be beautiful in the West. We maybe probably do it all over the world, but here we don't require you to have a personality. You don't have to have a skill. You just have to be gorgeous. And I use Charlize, and sometimes I use our brother Brad Pitt as an example, because these are two beautiful people who are awesome, who bothered to have talent and bothered to like come with it. Like they bring it, but they both looked in the mirror and were like, Hollywood. Number two, you've got connections. Yeah. Like you got a lot of money or connections. Money equals connections, but connections could be your uncle is Francis Ford Coppola, Nicolas Cage. You know, like you could know somebody in the business and they help you get in. I'm very pro that because it's a hard business to get into. I believe in nepotism in that way. Like help your kid out.
Sure.
Help Colin Hanks out because help
You
him
talking
out.
about Chet Hank? Oh, I thought you said Colin. Chet's the other one.
Yeah,
Chet
Colin.
needs help too.
Yeah, Colin. Does he need some help? I don't know about him. I only know about Colin. He's booked a few things, you know.
Yeah.
And Denzel's son, you know, the guy goes from he didn't wait in any lines.
No.
Like Denzel's son is starring in films. Let's go for it. So if you've got it like that, come on in. It's going to be much easier, and you're going to get to learn on camera, which the rest of us didn't get to do. We had to show up perfect, but you're going to get some big roles, and you're going to be able to chew on some stuff. Congratulations. I'm happy for you.
Yeah.
If I had kids, I'd do the same thing. I'd bring them right in, teach them how to do it, show them, giving them advantage. I would do the same thing. And the third category is if you're one of us. I don't care what you look like, you could be the total wrong thing, like me. And if it burns in you to the point where you have something to give, to say, to do as an artist, then do it. And if you are not one of those three things, you should probably do something else. And only you know which one you are.
That is such a good evaluation on how to get in. I agree with all of that. I used to have I thought it was if you were fuckable, likable, or intrinsically interesting. Like go into the business. But I never get upset if I know someone's dad is a producer.
It's pretty much the same thing, by the way.
It is. I never get upset about them getting an opportunity. I just make sense. And if someone's ridiculously good looking, like Chase Stokes, who's
Who's that?
kid I went to high school with. We both started out acting together, and he became a series regular.
Is this?
On Outer Banks.
Yes.
On Netflix, when we were all stuck at home, his show popped off, and he just flew to the top. Now he's like Dolce Gabbana. Just
Chase Stokes.
Chase Stokes.
Well, I think he's cute. Should I look him up?
He is absolutely look him up. Are you kidding me?
So
He's
it's funny
if he's good
because
enough for Dolce
like
and
to
Gabbana,
see him.
he's good enough for the background on my phone.
I was watching the show. Like I was sick one week, and I'm like, oh, I'll just see what this show is. And I started watching it, and as I'm watching it, I start texting. I'm like, dude, I'm watching this show. Like, you got to figure out how to audition. You're meant for this. And then he was like, I know the guy.
I know the lead. I know the lead. I just remember, for me, this is how that happened, right? So we're coming up and stuff, and he was thinking about moving out to LA, and I was like, oh, I don't know, man. You got to train first before you just go. And that audition came and happened for Outer Banks. You know, he went and shot it, didn't say anything to anyone. And then pandemic happens, and Netflix takes that and just puts it out there, Outer Banks, boom. And everyone's stuck at home, of course. Everyone's going to watch all the content, and it blows up and does
that's
a
what
great
happened
job.
with Tiger Shark or whatever.
Tiger King.
Tiger
Forgot
King,
about that.
yeah.
God.
We were all like,
When it brought us together.
I'm never going to
country.
I'm never going to financially
it's
recover.
not as bad as that.
Dude. Got her arm ripped off.
Jeez.
Insane. Still works for the
Tiger
guy.
King, I was like, oh my God. This is happening in America.
It's happening. That's happening at Gatorland
It's
probably
literally
too.
right down the street.
It's not far. I remember watching that happen. But so Outer Banks comes out at the same time my dad dies and passes away on FaceTime at a heart attack with me. And I am like completely in shambles. And then people are texting me, he's like, did you see Chase's? So I just fell into this deep but it was, I mean, I got out of it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But it was all that to say, he is beautiful.
I really want to see this human.
gotta
But I don't
see
know where
him.
my phone is. It's right to your right there. Can you reach it without messing things up? Because I'm totally going to forget his name too.
It's worth pausing. And honestly, if you're listening to this right now, go ahead, pull out Google and type in Chase Stokes, or just type in Dolce & Gabbana.
He's
And
the guy.
you'll see him.
Chase, is his name just going to come up? What's it? Chase.
Stokes.
It's a
Why
good
you say
name.
it like
That's a
that?
strong name.
I can't
let me
not
just-
say it like that. Chase Stokes.
All right, let me get a couple more
Yeah,
images.
just take a look.
Okay.
Not easy on the
Okay,
eyes.
okay.
Not too hard to look at.
Okay. Yeah.
If I was
I see
stuck
what
on
you
a
mean.
flight next to him,
Yeah.
probably have to start talking to
I
him.
gotta say he's a handsome guy.
Very handsome.
Okay, but let me. I don't want to. blow smoke at the host, I totally think you're hotter than this guy.
Don't
Andrew.
do that. No, Chase is
Okay, my opinion doesn't matter. I guess.
It does. I respect the world.
I'm not feeling his hair in this shot right here.
I feel his hair. I would love to feel his hair, actually. Yeah, that's a bit okay. Yeah, he could
not
probably trim
feeling
that
his
up.
hair
I think he
right
did
there.
cut it, or I'll cut his hair.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely a handsome dude. What are you gonna do? You
Chase,
know?
come over. Have air conditioning. Come over. Have AC.
Yeah, he's a handsome guy.
He's a very handsome guy. I wanted to ask you a question about directing, if you don't mind. I want to get under the hood a little bit on that
do it.
stuff. And I'll start, I guess, stepping back a little bit. When you approach any piece, do you work inside out or outside in?
What do you mean?
Are you thinking audience wise? Are you looking at it from an audience, or are you looking internally from like maybe if it's a play or if it's a live performance thing? Are you thinking more performer or inside of it? Or I mean, I guess
Good question.
Yeah.
I don't know if I think of it like that. So I begin with total and complete reverence for the writer and appreciation, because we have nothing without the writer. And so maybe that's inside.
okay.
So I begin there. It's just me and that writer have to bond. I feel very connected to writers. If the writer isn't available, then I am still very, connected to the intention of what they wanted to put out. Then I also think that directors are the writer's best tool. Because we will get into a writer's script and start mining it for stuff. And so that's my first thing is I need to see it visually. I get inside. At first, if I like what the writer wrote, I like those characters. I feel like I can see it, and there's movement in it, music and movement in it. Then I start to mine it for dramaturgy and connections and visuals. And so I'll make my first pass through the script, and I'll do what I see. Boom, I see like trampolines, or I see lasers, or I see, because I'm spectacle and visual. So I see color. I see, oh my God, this whole thing's, we're going to turn the lights out. We're going to freaking, oh my God, we're going to spin the whole stage around or whatever. So I do tend to think big like that. So maybe that's outside. Maybe that's me taking care of the audience. You're going to like that.
It's a quick
gong.
commercial
You're
break.
gonna
We're
enjoy
gonna
that.
cut to.
How about that? These big old drummer hands. You ready? Sorry about that.
We had a
it's all
whole
good.
bit on the last episode. It's
Yeah.
the first time we had headphones on.
Yeah.
And so that's the first time we heard that sound. And so anytime he was telling a story, or any of us was telling a story that was like, all right, time to move on, you just tap the
Just give me a tap.
The gong. So I'll be quick. So maybe that's outside. Again, like I am super invested in the audience's experience of the show, because I want them to be entertained. If they get my politics, my meaning, my stuff, all the better.
Yeah.
But I feel truly that my number one job is to be in that fifth position and tell a story, and to let them relax and to kick it off. They did enough today. They built highways today. They freaking taught children today. They made rugs today, whatever. They're watchmakers, whatever they did. It's now time for them to chill and for me to sweat and on their behalf. So I do think about their experience, but I'm also really, really, really invested in the experience of the performer. And so I'm always trying to build a show that the performers want to do. So it's a little bit of both.
Gotcha. Yeah. So I mean, when it comes to the theater, you've got three things. You've got the play, the actors, and the audience. Which one do you have most fun leaning into as a director?
The actors.
Yeah? I could tell.
I have a niche question about theater, or maybe I'm not sure if it's theater or not, but I guess, is there a difference between a performer and an actor, or performance and acting?
Sure. I mean, I don't know. I don't split hairs like that. I don't think I'm a purist in that way. It's all kind of fun to me. Yeah. So, it's like that mover versus dancer thing. Out of respect for my dancer friends,
Yeah.
I let them call me a mover. But come on, like I'm dancing, like my body is moving in time to music. It's called dancing. So I don't really split hairs like that. We're all just in this thing, and if you're dope, you're dope. Because I mean,
Boom.
the work I do, it's like I'm working with that break dancer who's never acted, but he's killing it right now as an actor. He's in that scene and he's killing it. Like, so it's all, everyone's just, you're either awesome or you're not.
Love it. But
You would actually like this because I've always thought the best directors just have the superpower of empathy, just
Yeah.
able to understand the playwright,
Yeah.
the writer in general, and then characters and knowing exactly where they come from. He also has the superpower, but he uses it in framing negotiations with his staff. He runs a whole group, an
Of what?
artistic group. Yeah.
So I volunteer for a nonprofit percussion education competitive group. So,
Nice.
Have you heard of WGI or DCI? Any of that? It's like WGI is specifically is the thing that I'm involved in. But it's like a group of 52 performers, age like 16 to 22, and then there's a staff of about 20 people with administrators and educators, and we write competitive shows.
Yeah.
So it's like an arena-based show. They do world championships in Dayton, Ohio every
Nice.
year.
Yeah.
And it's just like the top marching percussion students like in the world.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
So I get to do that with my friends. It's been I've been there 16 years, 16 seasons with
That's
them.
pretty awesome.
And I get to design and write the marching percussion stuff.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But you talked about, so sometimes when he writes, he has a level of empathy for the performer because he's like, how's it going to feel for
Yeah.
this snare drummer to, start the sequence, right? What does it feel like and look like? And then write from that perspective,
Right.
right?
It's one thing to write music on a page. It's another thing to have a comprehension of like what it feels like to play the thing and what it looks like and
That's
where it's going to be staged.
100% always on my mind. Always on my mind. I don't like Broadway shows where you see that performer come out and do one thing and then you never see him again. I'm like, geez, what a terrible job.
What a terrible gig.
Yeah, you booked a Broadway
Yeah.
show, and I just think of that play 1776, and this is a shout out to my brother Dashiell Eves, but Dash was in 1776 on Broadway with Brent Spiner, and he may have had a wonderful time. So I'm not trying to qualify on Dash's behalf. This is just my experience of it. The character comes out a couple of times to deliver a letter, and he's just covered in dust. And then he comes out and sings a beautiful song. And I walked away from that 3-hour production being like, dang, I would not want to do
3 hours.
that.
That was the
Man,
beginning of my theater career.
every night,
Yeah.
just, oh my God, that's
tough.
your job.
Especially on that
Yeah.
stage.
Wow. It just taught me something, as proud as I was of Dash. I honestly don't even think I ever talked to him about that. You're welcome, Dash. Here
Here
it
it
is.
is, Dash. I feel the same way, by the way, Dash.
Yeah. It's just one of those things. It's just,
Yeah.
it's just,
so when you're, so if you're combing through the script, maybe it's your second or third read when you're actually looking at the speeches
Yeah.
that some of these characters are saying.
Yeah.
Are you visualizing what it's like in that perspective to have that monologue, and how would you
no.
work about the stage, or how are you?
I'm doing framework and dramaturgy where I'm going, who is this character? Who are they in the story arc? Because in my opinion, as a director, I have to see things holistically. So I'm thinking, where's the character going? What's he about? And the thing that you just described, I leave it for the actor deliberately. And also I leave tons for designers and actors, because to me, design is a character in the show. So I approach them very similarly in that I feel like as a director, I know where I'm going, and I know where I want to go. I know where I believe the play is supposed to go based on what the writer wrote, and everything else is up for grabs,
Okay.
including blocking.
Really?
Yep.
I wanted to actually ask you about this because as a choreographer, I was wondering how sacred you hold blocking.
I don't. Yeah. I don't hold it sacred.
At
No,
all?
no. Intention is sacred, right? So if the character is moving in an intentionalized way, then that's what I hold sacred. And I actually, my system comes from STOMP a little bit, which was that, again, about the performer's experience of the show, which was in STOMP, we had this very definite container. We knew exactly what 4 bars, 8 bars, we're moving. Go 16 bars, change rhythms, like very precise. And all throughout that, you would hear us tickling the beat. Bam, just somebody hits a little accent, somebody does a little something, something. And then after a while, it's like seasoned, like you season the pot a little bit. And that taught me that that's a better way for your performers to be on stage, because then they can't wait to come to work tomorrow to do that thing and to get in there and make your show better, And so I tend to set up blocking as a container that has a certain set of rules.
Sure.
You you got to get over there and grab that gun and shoot him, because if you don't, the play's not going to continue.
Yeah.
You've got to sit down on the sofa so that he can sit on your lap and we nurse him or whatever it is,
Yeah.
So you have to do that. But a lot of times I set up blocking based on intention. And then I set a few rules depending on the scene.
Yeah.
It really depends on what the scene is, as to what those rules are. Sometimes it's stay away from each other. Sometimes it's don't let him get near you.
Yeah. I love that.
It feels like it allows the people involved, the actors involved, the opportunity to react to whatever happens specific that day.
Yeah.
It allows room for nuance and freedom.
That's definitely what that's about. It's like a Meisner exercise, In Meisner, we learn moment to moment. Meisner is, for every action, there's an opposite reaction. That's Meisner. And that's life. That's moment to moment. And with Meisner, these exercises, you learn that every moment could have 4 or 5 different possibilities as to what would make it dope. And then we will do it. And then I'll tell the actors, that's your A game. If you do that one's your A game. That one was cool too. That's your B game. I usually don't point out their B and their C game, whatever. I usually don't. I usually just will be like, that one, the way you just did it, that's your A game.
Yeah.
And then they go, okay. And then, because you know how it is, Andrew, and you've done shows before. It's like you're in a show, it's got a long run. By week 4, you're tired of doing it the way that you did it. And if you're in a system with a director or a stage manager who won't let you move, I don't think that's how you do it. I think you have to evolve and let the actors play. And directors who want to recognize their shows when they come back and see it 6 months later, it would behoove them to let the actors play.
Otherwise, you end up with we've talked about this before. There's the ability of play. Let's just say for a street show, with the audience, whatever happens or they give you, you can play with that. Or there's the mindset of there's a glass wall between you and the audience.
Yeah, I did this show for a long time with this gentleman. He was much older than me. And I felt so alone on stage because he did the same thing he would just not aware. I was
right.
Oh, all right, man. It's raining. So, okay.
Yeah.
It's raining. She's okay.
Actors are different, varied, and they're so sensitive. And I've gotten, all directors have gotten in trouble, and choreographers, because you're trying to read someone and you think that you're offering them freedom when in fact you've taken them from their safe zone where they know what they're doing every night, and you've kind of made them scared again. And then some actors you offer it to, and they're just like, thank you. You know, it's always.
That's the thing too. You deal with this a lot too, with the amount of different members in your group. It could be directing and communicating could be very difficult, and that's one thing that's kind of kept me away from directing for a long time, is knowing everyone's game and how to be a part of that, and to just meet them where they are.
Do you know what I say about directing is that it is 50% psychology. And that's not even a joke. It's not 30. It is 50% psychology. And that lesson started to get into me as a choreographer. My very first show that I choreographed for somebody else, I had an actor, because I was doing stuff for, just more specialized physical performers like breakdancers or stompers or aerialists, like people that if you were like, stand on this, flip, we're running. They would be like, flip 2 times or 3 times, then run how far? Whereas sometimes actors are like, excuse me, I have a bad knee. I'm not stepping up on anything. First of all, let's establish that. And you're just like, ee. And
That would be me. That's what I told.
like literally, I was like, when I first met actors that were like, no.
Excuse
I
me.
was like, woo, because I didn't think of it. And I was so just energetic that I really had to learn to slow down with actors. And I had this older male actor in my show who I think I'm going to say he got intimidated by the choreography. He couldn't do it. And one day he just kind of had this explosion in rehearsal. And it was, like I said, it was my first time choreographing for somebody. And I was so surprised. I was like, oh. And it just took me that pretty much the rest of that rehearsal process to kind of understand what that was and my emotions around that. And then I was just like, got it. Like I have to, it's 50% of what we're doing in that room is taking care of the human beings so that they can give of them, of themselves in the moment. And if you don't take care of that human being, they will let you know.
This topic, I
that's
could go
where
for hours.
That's
Keep
where
going.
empathy becomes so critical. If it's 50%, like you have to.
I believe
have
that. I don't believe that has been our tradition. I think that like we are in this total moment where we're shifting leadership and we're shifting values in terms of what we will not only accept in a leader, but expect out of them. And what I mean by accept is I don't think that empathy is how people have been leading at all. I think they've been leading with iron fists and making the rooms their own sort of tyrannical like worlds where it's like their, kind of their world. And I think that that's led us to a lot of the problems that we've seen recently with just anarchy from actors and stuff. It's that they're throwing off the shackles of old leadership. And I feel like empathy is not, the norm. And you can find that director where you're like, yeah, that director was empathetic. But I do feel this new wave of empathy coming in now. But even directors in my own history, I have found them to be more dictators in a room rather than, I guess, like partners in the room, and that's been a big complaint in the last, we all went through 2020 together.
Yeah,
we were all there
I was
together.
there.
Like
I remember
as
it.
people were like, he is not the one and he's been terrible and he's been, we were all there together and acknowledging that, it's like, but yeah, empathy to me is the only way forward at this moment in history. We must be empathetic.
100%.
I'm 100% on board.
Yeah.
Gosh, yeah. As a director, not only having empathy for your characters, but even more so your cast.
Yeah.
Figuring out, and now we even talk about the technical side and how that relationship works and how difficult that can be. But geez, yeah.
Those human beings, in my opinion, are the most important thing. I feel like actors feel like they have been mistreated so much that they are finally starting to push back. They've pushed back on me, and I'm looking at them like,
I'm you.
I'm trying, not me. I'm over here. I'm trying to help you.
I'm you right now.
Like what what are you pushing back on me? Wrong person. Wrong. Push.
Keep going though. That way.
Push the other person.
I totally get it.
But at the same time, it's like you sit in a leadership position. You take what comes with that position.
Sure.
And what comes with that position is people's psychology. Their hearts come with that. And I don't always know the right thing to do. I don't always make the best decision. I've been a few times. Like I just gave you that example with that actor. I was like, ha ha.
Just like, if I was in the room, I'd be like, Ameenah's doing it again.
Yeah. Like you don't know what to do, you know?
Sure.
But you have to try. We have to try.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. What, Mike? Looking at me
it
like...
would be foolish of us not to ask about The Office. That's
Come
all.
on, we can talk about it.
Going into
I
it.
just was at a fan autograph signing event last weekend.
No.
Wow.
In
where,
Miami.
Where is it Miami?
Yeah.
What's it like signing autographs?
I mean, cool as hell.
Really? You don't
Yeah.
get weirded out? Like,
No.
This is my signature
You
on
know
someone's
why?
hat.
You know why? Because those people pay my bills.
Oh, yeah. It's actually
Yeah,
kinda cool,
they're
actually.
awesome. The fans are awesome. I will never not love them, or I will never not be right there with them. And like, yes, celebrity, that whole thing that we were talking about, Hollywood and that thing,
Yeah.
it changed the nature of the way that the artist is with the guest. It put a barrier between us for safety reasons. In a lot of, it was a good barrier to be put there, because once people are that famous, it gets dangerous for them. We know
sure.
that. But historically, we are of the people, by the people, and for the people. And meeting them does not diminish you. They literally come and they're so excited to meet you, and they introduce you to their children, and they tell you about how you got them through this, that, and the other thing.
Yeah.
And then you go, thank you, because you got me through some stuff too.
Yeah, me through
these
2020.
I know, these jeans I got on,
That's beautiful.
this rent I paid,
I love that.
it's so no, it never gets weird. I had an actor friend in LA, super good looking.
Is it Chase Stokes?
No,
That's
it wasn't.
Brad Pitt.
I'm also not going to name him either, because he's an awesome human.
Yeah.
But he had a different reality than I had. He was a good looking white guy, and he was doing his thing in movies, and he was like, I think that got in his head, like celebrity got in his head. And he said to me, he was like, do you ever think that you don't want to be famous, Ameenah, because you're going to lose your privacy and everyone's going to be clamoring for you? And I remember saying to him in that moment, I honestly, that's not something that I'm concerned with. Like, I'm truly just trying to book a job out here. Like, whether or not I get famous is like not it. That said, just a few short years later, I did make that decision that I did not want to be famous like that, and that I wanted a different thing out of my career. Yeah.
That reminds me, I've had a couple of friends that I've started out with who have had great success early on.
Yeah.
And one of those friends moved out to LA, and he talking about how that just has a different perspective on life. This person went on to do like series regular work, and a bunch of different series. And I got in contact with him. He's a really good friend. But one day we were talking, and he was talking about how he said, I'm Orlando dope, but I'm not LA dope. And I don't know that stuck with me. What's Orlando dope, Mike?
You.
I don't rub me the wrong way.
I'm not going to get in this conversation.
Yeah, I was like, Orlando dope? I don't know. It bummed me out. Anyway, this is...
I've heard this from multiple actors.
Have you heard this?
Yes.
My first and only time hearing it, and I was like...
Oh, how about this?
Yeah.
If you know what Orlando dope is, put it in the comments and let us know.
If it's bad, don't tell me. If it's good, keep going. Tag me in it.
Just put it in the comments, because you know what it is. Yeah. I don't get into that kind of chat. I just say, if you want to be in that premium market and you think you've got what it takes, come on out.
Yeah,
like
no,
I was in the premium market. Let's go.
Yeah, I don't... I honestly, it just was like, it was just a testament to like how far we've just grown apart as humans. Like he's just thinking in that terms.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm just looking for a job.
Yeah. Like I never thought of it like that.
Never.
But I also did really truly feel like I was in that third category that I was saying, where this was, I didn't really have any other options. Like maybe I could have academically become a lawyer, but I think I would have killed the human. And in order to save the human, I'm in the arts. And so I'm here, and for me, it was like, what y'all want me to do? Die? So if not death, then I'm a book on TV show,
Yeah.
like what y'all want me to do.
Yeah.
And that's how I felt about it. I always felt like there is a cast of actors out there. Some of them are famous. We know their first and last names and who they're dating because that's how few of them there are. At any given time, there's probably 100, 150 super famous people across the generations. And the rest of them are working actors. And I said, I'm going to be one of them. And why? Because look, there's a whole, she's one, he's one, she's one, he's one. I'm going to be one. And that was my goal, was to be a working actor.
Yeah.
You know?
You achieved it. What was it like stepping onto the NBC lot for the first time to shoot that thing?
Oh, to shoot The Office? Because I
that
feel like
little
I've been
show.
on the
NBC lot a couple
We
times.
got to
bunch of
backtrack. We got to
times,
backtrack.
yeah.
What the process in getting the audition in the first place? Like, what was the path?
So that's, I hate to, I don't want to be like the bearer of bad news or burster of bubbles, but when you're like working, you're auditioning for a bunch of stuff all the time. And at that time in my career, literally, I was transitioning to being a director. And I was always in LA making shows, playing gigs, running around. And so acting was how I made my money, but I was always like doing other stuff. So when The Office came, it was another Tuesday audition. It was an important one because all of my auditions were important. I never phoned anything in because that's how I made my money. So it was important in that way. When I went in, I think for my callback, I think Craig Robinson was there. And I knew Craig from the music scene. Like he's friends with some guys I was in a band with. And it was like an actor band, And so if anyone ever had a gig, nobody cared. Like we'd be like, oh, I booked this show. No problem. We're canceling Friday. It was the coolest.
Anyway.
Yeah. No one got mad. And so we had a lot of fun playing together, and another band with very successful actors in it. Like they're doing great. Brandon and Malcolm are both killing it. Series regulars killing it. But anyway, Craig was there, and I didn't necessarily think I had an advantage because I don't think like that. But I did because Craig knew me from band scene, and Paul Lieberstein auditioned me, and I got the gig. Yeah, and then I really want to always shout out the head writer. Her name is Allison, and unfortunately, this is so bad. I'm so sorry. I'm drawing a blank on Allison's last name right now. It's so I shouldn't even talk about this on the. This isn't. I'm already
What's her
in.
name?
I'm in too deep.
No, we're in too deep. We'll edit it.
I will
I'll
tell
put it
you.
in.
Anyway, the head writer, I'll just say the head writer was amazing. And she saw, I don't think just me, but all of us as human beings. And I remember doing my first few scenes, and I would do a scene and we'd call cut, and then we'd wait around for a few minutes, and then I would get new pages, and then do the scene, call cut, I'd get new pages. And then by the third or fourth time, the voice was there.
And it's there.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I felt like she really did watch me and design the character for me. Wow. And I know that they did that for the other actors too, because I think that's why it worked so well, is because it was an extension of who we were as human beings. And she didn't try and put me in a box, stereotype me, make me talk different, do any of those things. She just let me be me, which I am very, very appreciative of, because there wasn't a lot of this particular combination of Black girl on TV at that time. And we all have contributed to where we are now. And I feel like that head writer contributed.
Wow.
In a good way.
So she was editing like live while you're filming?
Yeah, she was, she would see me, I would do a take, and she would rewrite it. And then she would write in a voice that felt good, to me.
Orchestrating it in real time.
Yeah.
I have a question about filming. So like when you're there and you're doing an episode, this is just because I don't know any better. How integrated is the cast? Like, are you seeing everybody all the time, or is it like this unit you don't see the other people in the episode, or
it depends on where you are. you know. But so the one thing that I loved about The Office was if you're shooting in the office itself, it's a single camera show. So they would do these long shots. Yeah. So in the background are all of these actors. In season 1, it's a bunch of actors who booked their series regular and they're very happy. By season 6, that's a bunch of famous millionaires sitting there playing extras. And they did it for 9 seasons straight. It was never like, I shouldn't be. Everyone was super chill. And so we would literally be sitting there in like a conference room, everybody, like just
Such a sweet thing.
No doubles, or maybe there were some doubles, I don't remember, but pretty much we were all just, and that was one of the coolest things. The Office, I don't want to be reaching because I'm such a small part of the show, but the reputation that I had heard and that I would support is that we were the theater company of TV shows, and that it had an ensemble feel to it. I don't think everyone would agree to that, but that is what I heard, and that was my experience of it. This was the actors who were in that third category. Mm-hmm. Everybody on that show was in that third category of killers who needed to act or to be in entertainment.
Did you know, like, when you signed on, did you know the scale that you were going to get out of the how recurring it was going to be? Like, what it would become?
In fact, they had an alternate plan if I didn't work out. Yeah. So they knew they wanted to do a love interest for Craig, but if I didn't work out, so if you watch my first episode when they're onboarding my character, there's 2 guys in the back. Yeah. There's like a black guy and a white guy, and I think the black guy has an afro and the white guy, so they're like a funny duo or whatever. And if I didn't work out, that was wow. I love that.
But it worked out. It worked out.
Hollywood don't play. They're like, you booked it, but you didn't book it. You got it, but you ain't got it.
Gosh, man. What I mean, arguably, I mean, you go say that you feel that ensemble piece when you watch it, and arguably, I mean, The Office is one of the greatest American English comedies, but American comedy TV shows that we've ever put out.
Yeah, I agree.
I 100%. I mean,
it's shocking how much people love it.
It still holds up too.
Yeah,
it still holds up. Yeah. Well, Mike, there's so much to go into, but we've been talking for an hour and 10 minutes, and I don't want to take.
We've taken up too much of your time already.
We didn't even touch Blueman.
You want to touch Blueman?
We didn't even touch directing musicals.
Touching Blueman, it's awesome. Musicals are awesome.
Yeah, there, touched it.
You might just have to come back. That's right.
Yeah, if you're up for it.
If I come back, let's be less formal and like really chat. Like let's get into it.
Okay, let's get into it. Yeah, absolutely. Maybe I'll.
We'll curse in the first minute.
Yeah, maybe I'll play drums.
First of all, it's cussing. We're in the South. Yeah. I don't know where you're from, but we're in the South.
Right here. Dude. I've been in the same spot in Florida my whole life.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Well, Florida's not really the South, though, is it?
It's the fake.
I feel like the South when I hit Georgia.
Yeah. I'm from Atlanta.
Georgia through
we cuss.
I think maybe down through Tallahassee. Like I have family in Tallahassee, and they're like y'all.
Florida Georgia line.
Yeah. I say y'all.
It didn't make it down to me. Like I'm too far south.
Y'all are bougie down here.
Yeah. We are.
Yes, we are. When Florida, bougie. That's what I think of when I look at. I hit it again.
Do you for yourself? All right, on that.
I gonged myself.
I gonged on that self. Ameenah, love you. Thank you so much.
Love you too, brother.
Through.
My pleasure. Thank you for inviting me. This is awesome. I'm super stoked for you guys, and what a nice setup you have.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Love you, Leon. Get us out of here.